Rain fell hard on the cold city streets. People rushed by, umbrellas in hand, eyes forward, never looking down. No one noticed the figure crouched in the alley, wet, shaking, hungry. She wasn't human. But she looked close enough until you saw her eyes, deep purple, glowing faintly in the dark. She wore nothing but an old blanket, soaked through. Her skin was pale, too pale, and covered in small scratches. Her feet were bare. She hadn't eaten in days. The dog barked loudly. A rough street mutt with sharp teeth. It stood guard over a broken bowl filled with leftover meat. The alien girl stared at the food. Her stomach growled so loud she thought others might hear it. She moved closer, crawling slowly. The dog growled louder, ready to bite. But she didn't care, not anymore. She dropped to her knees in the muddy alley. Her hands touched the bowl. She didn't want to take it. But she was starving. Her lips parted. She took a bite. The dog lunged, but she didn't flinch. It barked in her face, but didn't attack. It stepped back, confused. Even the dog knew. She wasn't trying to steal. She was surviving. People on the sidewalk passed by. A man in a suit stopped, looked at her, and then turned away with a disgusted face. A woman muttered, "Filthy alien," and kept walking. A child asked, "Mommy, is that a monster?" "No, baby, it's just a mistake." But she wasn't a mistake. She was alive. She had a name once, a home, a family. But war had taken everything. She had escaped a cage only, to land on this cold world where even dogs had more worth than her. Her hands shook as she finished the scraps. Then she heard footsteps. Slow, careful. A man stood at the alley's edge. Not rich, not clean, a bit rugged. He had dark eyes and wore a thick hoodie. He didn't say anything. She froze, thinking he'd shout or hit her. But instead, he crouched. "I saw you yesterday," he said quietly. "You didn't eat then either." She didn't reply. She couldn't speak his language well. She only understood the tone gentle. Different from the others, he placed something in front of her, a plastic container. Steam rising from it. Food, real food. Hot food. She blinked. He opened it slowly and pushed it toward her. Rice, meat, some kind of sauce. The smell hit her like a dream. Her eyes watered. She didn't move. "Go ahead," he said, smiling just a little. "It's yours." Her fingers reached out, but then stopped. What if it was a trick? What if he took it back the moment she reached for it? She had seen that before, from soldiers, from humans in other cities. Give, then take. Kindness, then cruelty. But this man didn't move. She finally picked up the container. She ate one bite and burst into tears. Hot food burned her mouth, but she didn't care. It was the first warm thing she had felt in weeks. Her whole body shook. He didn't speak, just sat beside her on the dirty ground. "I'm not gonna hurt you," he said. "I'm not like them." She looked at him, her mouth full, her face wet. She didn't believe him. Not yet, but for now. He was the only one who had seen her as something more than a thing. As a person. The dog returned, watching from the side. It didn't bark anymore. It just sat, as if it understood something had changed. The man looked at the sky. "You got a name?" he asked. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She didn't remember the last time she spoke. He nodded like he understood that too. "My name's Nate," he said. "You don't have to talk yet. You don't even have to trust me. But you shouldn't be out here like this." She lowered her head. He stood up and offered his hand. "No one deserves to eat like a dog." She stared at his hand. Her own hands were filthy. Broken nails. Thin fingers. Still, she reached up. Slowly. And for the first time since she arrived on Earth, someone lifted her off the ground. Nate's apartment was small, just one room, a broken heater, and too many boxes. But to her, it looked like heaven. She stepped inside slowly, one foot after the other. The floor was warm. The air smelled like old clothes and cheap coffee, but it wasn't the street. It wasn't cold. It wasn't full of eyes that stared like knives. She stood there, not knowing what to do. She didn't sit, didn't move. Just stood near the door. Ready to run. Nate dropped his bag on the floor. He pointed to the couch. "You can rest there." She didn't understand his words, but she saw where he pointed. She looked at the couch. A soft thing, with a pillow. Her legs gave up, and she dropped onto it, not sitting, but curling up, like a child hiding from thunder. Nate watched her. She looked like she hadn't touched anything soft in years. He walked to the kitchen, opened a can. The small place was quiet. Just the sound of metal, boiling water, and the faint drip from the bathroom tap. She watched him. Every move. Every hand gesture. Her heart didn't trust easily, even after the food. She had seen men smile and then burn villages, but this man, Nate, was different. He spoke with his hands, slow and calm, like someone trying not to scare a wild animal. Which, in her mind, she was. He came over again, held out a towel. She looked at it, then at him. "Shower," he said softly. "You're safe here." She didn't know that word, safe. But his tone made her believe, for a moment, that maybe she could breathe. The water was too hot at first. It stung her back. But she didn't scream. She stood there for a long time, letting the water wash off dirt, blood, and memories. Her hair stuck to her face. Her feet trembled. The water ran brown. She found clothes folded near the sink. They were too big, but warm. Clean. She touched the shirt like it was a sacred thing. When she came out, Nate was sitting on the floor, eating noodles from a cup. He handed her 1-2. She sat slowly and took it. They didn't talk. They just ate. And then he showed her the bed. She looked at it like it was a machine. She poked the blanket, the mattress. She didn't understand. He smiled. "It's a bed. You can sleep here tonight." She looked confused. Nate made a gesture, laid his hands flat under his cheek and tilted his head. Sleep. She finally understood. She had never slept in a bed before. Her people before the war slept in hammocks, nests, or warm crystal chambers. After the war? Dirt, concrete, cages, nothing soft. She sat on the bed. It sank under her weight, and she gasped, eyes wide. She touched the blanket with both hands. Then slowly she laid down. Her body relaxed in a way it had forgotten. Nate turned. "Off the light. Good night." She didn't know what those words meant either, but they felt soft. Like the bed. Later that night, she woke up sweating. There was screaming in her head. Soldiers, explosions, chains, her mother's voice, then silence. She sat up, shaking. Then a hand touched her shoulder. She jumped. "It's okay," Nate whispered. "Just a dream. You're not there anymore." She couldn't speak. Her throat was tight. Her hands trembled. Nate didn't ask questions. He didn't touch her again. He just sat on the floor beside the bed. She looked at him. And for the first time, she whispered something. Not in English. In her own alien tongue. A single word that meant, why? Why was he helping her? Why didn't he run? Why didn't he sell her? Nate looked at her. And simply said, "Because no one helped my sister when she needed it. I won't make that mistake again." She didn't understand the words, but she felt the truth in them. That night, she fell asleep again. This time without fear. This time in a bed. Nate poured black coffee into a cracked mug. Morning sunlight spilled through the window, painting soft lines across the floor. The girl, alien, fragile, nameless, was still asleep, curled on the bed like a kitten that had never known warmth. Before, he smiled a little, but peace never lasted in a city like this. His door buzzed, a low, electric hum. Someone was at the entrance of the building. He glanced through the peephole. No one was there. Just a flyer pinned to the hallway wall. He Stepped outside and froze. It was a bounty poster. Weatherproof, fresh, digital screen. Government issue. In the center was a grainy image, but there was no mistaking her face. Alien female. Escaped from containment. Dangerous. High priority target. Reward 30,000 credits. Alive only. Nate's chest tightened. He tore the poster down and crumpled it, shoving it deep into his coat. When he stepped back inside, she was already awake, sitting on the bed, watching him. She had seen his face change. Her voice was quiet. "You saw it." He didn't pretend. "Yeah, I saw." She looked down. "You should turn me in. It's a lot of money." He didn't answer at first. He poured another mug of coffee and handed it to her. She stared at it, then stared at him. "You're not afraid?" He sat on the couch. "Should I be?" "I escaped the lab," she said. "They did tests. My blood has things, dangerous things. They want it back. They don't care if I live." He nodded slowly. "That's why they want you alive, so they can cut you open." She blinked, surprised he understood. "You helped me," she said, "but you didn't ask why I was on the street." "I figured you'd tell me when you were ready." Silence filled the room. Just the hum of the city outside. Flying cars. Vendors yelling. Life moved on, unaware of the storm heading their way. She finally spoke. "My name is Sarai." Nate smiled faintly. "Sarai, that's beautiful." Her eyes narrowed, unsure if he was mocking her. But she saw no joke in his face. Later that day, Sarai stood by the window. She wore a hoodie now, clean clothes. But she still looked small. Her purple eyes scanned the streets. "They'll come," she whispered. "Let them," Nate said. She looked at him. "You can't fight them." "I don't need to fight them," he replied. "I just need to stay one step ahead." He opened a dusty box under his bed. Inside, a burner tablet, gloves, and an old weapon. Standard issue, military grade, not legal. Sarai tilted her head. "You're not just a kind man, are you?" Nate didn't answer, but in his eyes she saw something, a history he hadn't spoken of yet. By nightfall, she couldn't sleep. Again, so she stood in the shower, letting water hit her back. She looked at her own reflection in the bathroom mirror. Thin arms, hollow face, alien symbols on her neck burned in. Property tags. She rubbed them until her skin hurt. But they wouldn't fade. She stepped out quietly, wrapped in a towel, and found Nate sitting at the table, cleaning the gun. He didn't look surprised. "They'll send trackers," she said. "Machines, drones, hunters. I've dealt with worse." "Why are you helping me?" she asked again. His eyes lifted. "You think I've never been hunted?" He tossed her a small ID chip. It was old, cracked, and illegal. "A fake identity for you," he said. "When we leave, you'll need it." She caught it, staring at it like it was magic. "You're leaving everything for me?" He shrugged. "I didn't have much to begin with." Suddenly, the power cut off. The apartment went dark. Sarai's body stiffened. She whispered, "They're here." Outside, a black hovercraft circled the block. Lights scanned the buildings. Windows flickered with red tracking beams. Nate stood, grabbed his bag, and moved. "Fast. Back exit. Roof. Let's go." She followed, heart pounding. They climbed up rusted stairs. The night air hit her face. Drones buzzed below. From the roof, she saw a clear path, but the jump to the next building was long. "I can't," she said. Nate took her hand. "You jumped planets. You can jump a rooftop." And without waiting, he ran, pulling her with him. They leapt. She screamed, but she landed, alive, breathless, on the other side. When she looked back, the poster flashed in her mind, but this time, the human next to her didn't blink. Sarai stood on the edge of the rooftop, eyes wide, lungs burning. Below, the drone scanned the city with soft red pulses, calm, cold, exact. They didn't scream. They didn't shout. But she could hear them whispering her name, not with sound, but through the small metal implant near her neck. Still alive. Still active. Still tracking her. She touched it. Her fingers trembled. Nate crouched nearby, checking the small digital map. "We've got 3 minutes. The scan cycle just passed. We need to move fast." But she didn't move. Her head was down. Her body frozen. "Sarai," he said softly, walking over. "What is it?" She looked up, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. "They can speak to me," Nate stiffened. "The drones?" "No, the machines behind them. They know me. They know everything I do. I don't know how, but I can feel them." Watching, Nate's jaw tightened. "They hard-linked you." She nodded. "That implant in my neck, it's not just a tag. It's a voice, a leash. Then we'll cut it out." She took a step back. "It's buried deep. Close to the spine. If we mess it up," he raised a hand. "We won't mess it up. But you're not a surgeon." "I was a field medic. In a war no one remembers." He paused. "You're not the only one they tried to throw away." The safe house was deeper in the city. Underground. Hidden beneath a fake laundromat. They arrived just before dawn. Nate locked 3 doors behind them before lighting a small lamp. The place smelled like dust and metal, clean, but forgotten. Sarai looked around. "This was yours?" He nodded. "One of many. I used to help refugees pass through this zone. Then, I stopped." "Why?" He didn't answer. Instead, he laid out tools on the table, a scanner, a medical cutter, pressure gel. Her eyes followed every motion. "You're serious?" He looked at her. "If we don't remove that chip, they'll never stop hunting." Sarai sat slowly in the chair. She pulled her hair aside. "Do it." The cut was small, but it felt like lightning. She gritted her teeth, bit down on a cloth. Her hands grabbed the chair tight as the cutter hummed. Nate worked fast but careful. His breath steady. Eyes focused. Blood ran. A small black device clinked. Into a tray. He sealed the wound and pressed the gel. "It's done," he whispered. She slumped forward. He caught her before she fell. Hours passed. Sarai woke up on a cot. Bandage on her neck. She touched it and winced. Nate was nearby, cleaning the tools. "You didn't have to do that," she said weakly. "I know. You could have taken the bounty. You could have sold the chip. You could have left." "I know." She stared at him for a long time. "Why don't you run?" He finally looked at her. "I ran once," he said. "It cost me my brother. Never again." That silence came again, the one where 2 people understood each other without speaking. Outside, the city kept moving, but Sarai felt something she hadn't felt in years. Not safety. Not yet, but choice. For the first time, she wasn't being chased by orders, machines, or metal voices. She was just herself. She walked to the mirror and stared. The tag was gone. Her skin still held the burn mark, but it was her own now, not theirs. And in the reflection, she saw something else. Strength. But peace was never simple. Nate's scanner beeped, a red warning. "What is it?" she asked. "They changed tactics," he said. "They're not scanning for your chip anymore." Then, "How?" "They're scanning for me." Her eyes narrowed. "Why?" "Because I stole something from them once. Something I wasn't supposed to have." "What did you take?" He stared at her. And finally said, "The truth about you." Nate tapped an old battered data chip into the console. The screen blinked, stuttered, and loaded slowly like it hadn't been touched in years. Sarai stood behind him, arms folded, her eyes still dull from the surgery. The pain in her neck had faded, but the fear, still alive. Just quieter now. He didn't look at her when he spoke. "I was part of a cleanup team 5 years ago. After the Ghost Labs incident on Valtrex 4. She nodded. "I've heard stories. Genetic experiments. Illegal tech, wiped from records. They told us to burn everything. No backups, no files, no survivors. He paused, but I didn't burn everything. He pressed enter. A file popped open, classified, corrupted. Then, slowly, cleared out a single genetic profile filled the screen. Not human. Not full alien. Something else. Sarai stepped closer, her eyes locked on the code. The patterns. She didn't understand it all, but somehow, she felt it. Deep in her bones. That's me, she whispered. Yes, Nate said. Why was I in a ghost lab? You weren't just in it, he replied. You were the core of it. She backed away, heart pounding. I was a test subject? No, he said carefully. You were a project. Her breath caught. What kind of project? He scrolled to the name at the top of the file, Project Mother Code. She froze. Nate kept reading. You weren't just built to survive. Sarai, you were designed to rebuild something. Rebuild what? He looked at her. Species. Her knees felt weak. She grabbed the table for balance. You think I can, what? Repopulate a dying race? Not just repopulate, he said. You're a hybrid code carrier. Your DNA holds templates for multiple alien species, including extinct ones. She shook her head. No, that's not possible. I'm nobody. I don't even remember my parents. They didn't need parents, he said. They needed a seed. A girl smart enough to think, kind enough to adapt, strong enough to survive in any environment, and broken enough not to fight back, she whispered. He looked at her. You didn't break, you escaped. Silence. The city above them was quiet, but in Sarai's chest, a storm had started. She walked away from the screen, pacing. Why now? Why bring this up? Because now, the wrong people know what you are, Nate said. And if they get to you, they won't just kill you. They'll use me, she finished. Harvest me. Or worse, replicate you. A second alert blinked on the monitor. Sarai stopped. What is that? Encrypted call. It's bouncing from 6 satellites. It's meant for you. How would they know how to reach? It's not a message, he said. It's a pull. He turned the screen toward her. Lines of strange, curved alien script began scrolling. She read it slowly, her lips parting in shock. It's from another hybrid. Nate stood. There are more? No, she said. They died, or they were erased. This is an echo. An old recording. A memory code. Buried deep. Now active because she was free. It says they're calling. Emmy home. Nate's voice dropped. It could be bait. I know. You want to go anyway? She nodded slowly. If someone like me made this, I have to know who I was meant to be. He walked over. Then we go together. Sarai looked at him. You've done enough. You think this is still about helping you? He reached into his coat, pulled out the bounty poster, flipped it. On the back, handwritten. Anyone aiding the subject is considered an enemy of the core. Termination authorized. He smirked. Guess I'm already committed. Sarai stared at him for a long moment. You knew from the beginning, didn't you? I knew you weren't just a girl eating from a dog's bowl. She looked down. But you helped me anyway. Because I've seen monsters, he said, and you're not one of them. In the dark of the safe house, Sarai touched her neck. No implant, no leash, just a scar. And now, a question. If I was created to rebuild life, what happens if I choose not to? Asterisk smoke poured from the street vents above. Sarai coughed as ash drifted down from the surface. The safe house exit had been sealed shut. The core forces had arrived. Faster than expected, silent ships, unmarked uniforms. No warning, she and Nate had only minutes to escape. Now they ran through narrow tunnels. Half blind, chased by machines that never stopped. We need to reach the lower port, Nate shouted. I've got a ship stashed underground. But Sarai couldn't run anymore. Her legs gave out. The cut on her neck had reopened. She stumbled and dropped to the ground. "I can't," she said weakly. "Go without me." Nate turned instantly. "Not happening." He didn't wait. He pulled her onto his back. She was light, too light. Her body shook against his shoulders, and yet she tried to argue. "You'll slow down." "I don't care," Nate growled. "I don't leave people behind." Not again. The flames were spreading from the sewer grates, set on purpose, no doubt. A trap. Smoke blinded them as Nate pushed through a collapsing pipe tunnel. Sparks fell, metal cracked. Sarai couldn't see anymore, just the sound of his breath. His heartbeat, the way his hands gripped her legs, like she was something precious. She thought back to the first time she saw him, standing in an alley, offering food, not fear. Now he was carrying her through fire, through death, through a world that wanted her gone. They burst out into a quiet chamber. Low lights, empty floor. A small ship covered in dust and plastic. Nate dropped her gently and pulled the cover off. Sarai tried to sit up. "Nate," she whispered, "you don't know what's waiting beyond this city." He looked back at her. "I don't care. You don't understand. If we reach that signal, if we find who sent it, it could change everything." "Good," he said. "This world needs changing." She blinked. Something in her chest ached, but not from fear this time. It was something else. Something warm. Something she thought only humans had. He helped her climb into the co-pilot seat. Strapped her in. Her hand brushed his. She didn't pull away. "You should have left me in that alley," she said softly. He looked at her, expression unreadable. "You were never meant for the street." Then he paused. "And neither was I." The engines whined as the ship powered up. Lights flickered. Old systems rebooted. A warning flashed. Multiple lock-ons detected. They were already surrounded. Sarai's voice cracked. "We won't make it." But Nate grinned. "We don't need to make it out clean." He hit the thrusters. The ship screamed. Flames burst from the floor beneath them as they launched through a hidden shaft, breaking free into a hollowed tunnel. Carved beneath the city ruins, the core drones chased tight formation, silent wings slicing the air. Sarai activated the defense screen. Nate dodged. Dove rolled the ship through darkness. One drone clipped, the tail sparks flew. "Come on, baby," Nate muttered. "Hold together." A final turn, a broken gate, a flash of sky. They erupted into open air just before dawn. Smoke trailing behind them. Nate shouted, "We're clear." But Sarai didn't answer. She was staring at the rising sun. Her eyes filled with light. And tears. He looked over, concerned. "You okay?" She turned her head. And whispered, "You feel like home." The words hit harder than any explosion. Nate didn't speak. He couldn't, not for a moment. Then he reached across the small console and held her hand. No gloves. No armor, just skin. She squeezed it back. They drifted into the clouds, the city far behind them now. Sarai looked ahead. Somewhere out there was the source of the signal. Maybe a trap, maybe a grave. Maybe the beginning of everything. But wherever it led, she wasn't alone anymore. And that meant something. Because once, she ate from a dog's bowl. Now a human carried her through fire, and she called him her home. The ship drifted in deep orbit, past the clouds, past the noise, past the old world that had once turned its back on her. Sarai sat in the dark cockpit, staring out the glass. She had never seen Earth from above. It looked peaceful, beautiful, so different from the cold alleys and bounty drones that tried to erase her. And now, it felt like a memory, a life that belonged to someone else. Nate leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "We're 2 jumps from the signal." She nodded. "You sure about this?" "No," she admitted. "But I have to know who sent it." He nodded. "Then we go." The engine hummed. Coordinates locked. The ship shot into FTLU light, bending around them. For a few seconds, everything blurred, then silence. They emerged. In a forgotten star system, no stations, no satellites. Just a single black moon with a small structure on the surface. Is this it? Nate asked. Sarai didn't answer. She already knew it was. Her whole body felt it like a code waking up inside. This place, was built for me. They landed near the structure. It wasn't large. Looked abandoned. But the moment Sarai stepped off the ship, the ground lit up. The air shifted. A soft hum echoed like a voice singing underwater. The door opened before they touched it. Inside, no people. Just a room made of glowing crystal walls, humming machines, and one floating device in the center. A projector. It blinked. Then spoke. In her voice. Hello, Sarai. If you're hearing this, then you survived. Her mouth opened in shock. Am you from before? The original consciousness seeded into the hybrid body. I knew one day we'd forget. That they'd wipe us. So I left this memory to remind us who we were. Nate looked at her. It's you? She nodded, tears in her eyes. The voice continued. You are not a mistake. You are not an experiment. You are Hope, the last of the Mother Code. A living archive of lost species. With the right trigger, your DNA can restore life that was wiped out in war. Worlds can be grown again from you. The projection paused. But it's your choice. If you don't want this, the code will die with you. You were made to carry it, not obey it. Then it vanished. Silence again. Sarai stepped back, overwhelmed. It's too much. Nate put a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to decide now. But she shook her head. That's just it. I do. She walked to the center of the room, laid her hand on the glowing console. A soft click. Then dash images began forming all around her, holograms of extinct creatures. Forests, oceans, civilizations lost to greed and war. She could feel the data inside her waking up. It wasn't just DNA. It was memory, culture, history, a map of life, and it was hers. To unlock, she turned to Nate. You found me when I was starving. When I was crawling like an animal, you didn't look away. I never will, he said quietly. I don't know what happens next, she said. Neither do I, she smiled. But I know one thing. If we're going to bring back life, we have to build a better world than the one that tried to kill me. He stepped forward. And I'll be right beside you when you do. Her fingers touched the final switch. The machine pulsed. Outside, the black moon glowed faintly. Deep within it, seeds of old species began to stir. The process had started. She closed her eyes. Once she ate from a dog's bowl. Now she stood at the edge of rebirth. Once forgotten. Now she held the power to rewrite worlds. And for the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid.